Hello, my lovely people. It's your host, Smart again. Today we're heading to the FA Cup fourth round where Chelsea delivered a 4-0 performance that looked routine on the surface. But underneath, it tells a much deeper tactical story. Chelsea didn't simply out-talent Hull. They controlled every variable, width, spacing, tempo, and game state from the very first phase of build-up. They were playing a different game entirely from the opening whistle. Their wingers stayed disciplined and wide, pinning Hull's fullbacks deep and stretching the defensive line horizontally. When you stretch a defense that wide, the half spaces, the most dangerous zones in modern football, begin to open naturally. That's exactly where Pedro Neto operated with ruthless intelligence. Neto's hat trick wasn't just random brilliance or individual luck. It was the result of a repeatable pattern play that Chelsea have clearly mastered on the training ground. He attacked the half-space corridor between Hull's fullback and center-back repeatedly. The timing of his runs was synced perfectly with Liam Delap's positioning, and that specific connection is where the real tactical edge appeared for the Blues. Delap didn't play as a traditional static number 9. He functioned more as a hybrid connector. At times, he dropped slightly into midfield pockets, forcing Hull's center-backs into a massive decision-making dilemma every time he received the ball. If they followed him, they left space behind for Neto to exploit. If they held their line, Delap had time to receive, turn, and release runners. That indecision is deadly against a team that understands timing. 3 assists from Delap proves the structural synergy was intentional. Then came territorial dominance. Chelsea sustained pressure high up the pitch, which increases the probability of chaotic moments, including Neto scoring directly from a corner. An Olympico goal is rare, yes, but it's often born from territorial suffocation. When a team spends long spells in your defensive third, concentration dips, marking assignments blur, and unusual goals happen. Hull were feeling the weight of the game long before the ball actually crossed the line for that third goal. Now look at game state management. Once Chelsea scored, Hull had to chase. When an underdog opens up, distances between their defensive lines increase. The midfield pushes higher, the back line becomes less compact, and transitional spaces widen. Chelsea recognized this shift immediately and accelerated their vertical progression after regaining possession. Quick switches of play, early forward passes, attacks were launched before Hull could even dream of resetting into their mid-block structure. That's elite awareness. Defensively, Chelsea counter-pressed aggressively within the first 5 seconds after losing the ball. Short recovery distances prevented Hull from establishing any kind of rhythm. It was a masterclass in transition denial. Hull rotated heavily, likely prioritizing their league survival, and that lack of cohesion showed in their pressing triggers and defensive tracking. Against an organized top side like this Chelsea team, even small structural misalignments become big scorelines very quickly. So Chelsea's win wasn't just about dominance or talent. It was about spacing intelligence, synchronized movement, and the ruthless exploitation of game state transitions. They turned a cup tie into a tactical demonstration of modern football principles. Pedro Neto will take the headlines with that hat trick, and rightfully so. But remember, his goals were the final product of a system that worked flawlessly to create those opportunities. He was the spearhead of a very sharp tactical machine. The FA Cup often gives us magic and upsets, but tonight at Hull, it gave us a lesson in professionalism. Chelsea didn't blink, they didn't relax, and they didn't give Hull a second to breathe. That's the mentality of champions in any competition. Now Chelsea move on, and the rest of the competition will be watching. If they can maintain this level of structural discipline and attacking synergy, they are going to be a very difficult team to knock out of this tournament. The Blues are looking dangerous. So my lovely people, what did you think of that performance? Is this the birth of a new, more clinical Chelsea, or was this just a case of a Premier League giant exposing a tired Hull side? Drop your tactical thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Smart Sports Studio for more deep breakdowns. We don't just give you the score, we give you the breakdown. Smart football for the football family. Stay locked in for more analysis. Now we have to talk about one of the most chaotic FA Cup ties of the round, Aston Villa against Newcastle United. Final score, Newcastle win 3-1, and this match had everything. An early goal, controversial moments, a red card that changed the game, and a second half collapse that Villa will not want to rewatch. Let's start with how it began, because Villa actually started well. They went ahead through Tammy Abraham. But the goal had controversy around it because he appeared offside. In FA Cup rounds without VAR, these moments become even more dramatic because there's no safety net. If the official misses it, it stands. That early goal gave Villa belief and the crowd energy. Then the match swung on a moment that changed the tactical landscape. Villa's goalkeeper Marco Bizot was sent off just before halftime for a reckless foul outside the box on Jacob Murphy. That is a game changer of the highest level. Once you go down to 10 men, everything becomes harder. Your defensive shape, your ability to press, to counter, to keep the ball. It's not just losing a player, it's losing balance. And Newcastle, to their credit, didn't panic. They didn't play emotional. They stayed composed, kept structure, and waited for the second half to do damage. That's maturity. Now let's talk about Sandro Tonali, because he was the headline act in the second half. He scored twice, and both goals reflected Newcastle's advantage. More space, more time, and more freedom to attack the box. Tonali didn't just score, he controlled the moment. When you're playing against 10 men, the smart team increases tempo and forces the opponent to defend more actions in less time. Newcastle did exactly that, forcing Villa to defend deeper and more desperately. Then Nick Woltemade added a third late on, and that goal told the story of a tired, stretched, 10-man Villa struggling to defend basic sequences. Once the game hit that point, the tie was finished. Tactically, this match teaches a simple lesson. Red cards in cup football are often fatal, especially when you lose a goalkeeper, because it forces emergency reshuffles and removes your ability to reset calmly through distribution. Villa also have to look at their discipline and game management. You can't give away a sending off in a tight cup tie and expect to survive. Cup football is short-term punishment. One error becomes elimination. For Newcastle, this win is massive. It's not just progression, it's confidence, momentum, and a reminder that they can handle chaotic scenarios and still execute. Tonali's performance gives them a midfield threat that can win matches, not just support them. Now what's next? Newcastle go into the 5th round with belief. Villa, meanwhile, are out, and their focus shifts back to league objectives. Cup exits can hurt, but they can also free up the schedule. The key is how Villa respond emotionally, because losses like this can either damage your rhythm or refocus your priorities. For Newcastle, this kind of win lifts the whole club. For Villa, it's a test of mentality. So my lovely people, here's the big question. Was this Newcastle brilliance, Villa self-destruction, or a bit of both? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, and stay locked in with Smart Sports Studio, because the FA Cup never stops delivering drama. Liverpool versus Brighton at Anfield was a performance layered with tactical intent, individual resurgence, and clear psychological momentum. 3-0 tells only part of the story. When you break this match down properly, you begin to see the structural decisions, the midfield control, and the key transitional moments that defined the outcome. Liverpool knew the FA Cup was a genuine opportunity for silverware. Brighton arrived with confidence. They had already shown they can compete against top sides. Their identity under Roberto De Zerbi is clear. Controlled possession, brave build-up from the back, and structured pressing patterns. That brave build-up is Brighton's hallmark. They invite the press, baiting opponents forward to create space in the midfield. It takes immense technical security and emotional control to play this way at Anfield. Their pressing sequences are equally intelligent. Brighton don't just run, they trigger the press in specific zones to force turnovers. However, Liverpool's spacing between the lines made it difficult for Brighton to trap them on the day. From the opening whistle, Liverpool set the tempo. The midfield triangle, Dominic Szoboszlai, Alexis Mac Allister, and the deeper pivot worked intelligently to circulate possession quickly and bypass that Brighton pressure. The breakthrough came in the 42nd minute through Curtis Jones. This goal was massive. It arrived at a psychologically crucial moment, just before halftime, after a build-up that showcased Liverpool's patience against a compact Brighton block. In the second half, Liverpool demonstrated real tactical maturity. Rather than retreating, they increased their intensity. Brighton tried to push their midfield line higher, but this created space in transition, and Liverpool exploited it. Szoboszlai's goal in the 56th minute was a textbook example of coordinated movement. It was a goal born from structural superiority, finding the gap between Brighton's defenders after a quick progression through the middle. Szoboszlai's ability to drift into half spaces disrupted Brighton's organization. He ensured Liverpool maintained numerical advantages centrally, combining his off-ball intelligence with perfect technical execution throughout the match. Brighton did have spells of possession. Their build-up remained composed, and they circulated the ball with confidence in the middle third. However, the difference between the two sides was found in final third precision. Liverpool's defensive line held shape well, and their midfield tracking limited Brighton's penetration. Whenever Brighton overloaded wide areas, Liverpool recovered quickly, cutting off crossing lanes and forcing low-percentage shots. The decisive third goal arrived in the 68th minute. Mohamed Salah won a penalty after driving directly at the defense. Elite attackers force mistakes. Salah stepped up and converted with calm authority to effectively end the contest. Salah looked sharper and more direct. For Liverpool, having him in form at this stage could be season-defining. Meanwhile, Curtis Jones's goal represents a confidence boost that could elevate his contribution in the matches to come. Defensively, Liverpool's transitional recovery speed was excellent. Brighton are known for exploiting space when opponents overcommit, but Liverpool balanced aggression with perfect positional discipline and compactness. For Brighton, the defeat highlights that recurring issue: final third efficiency. The structure and build-up quality are there, but against top-level opposition, marginal inefficiencies become decisive. They simply lacked the killer touch. This result reinforces Liverpool's FA Cup ambitions and shows tactical clarity under Arne Slot: controlled build-up, flexible midfield rotations, and decisive finishing when it matters most. They are looking like real contenders. Brighton leave with lessons, but Liverpool's victory was a blend of structure, clinical execution, and psychological timing. This was not just a win, it was a statement performance from the Blues. So my lovely people, what did you think? Can Brighton fix their efficiency problems, or is Liverpool's clinical form here to stay? Drop your tactical thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and stay with Smart Sports Studio. Hello family, let us talk about Arsenal. Breaking down an Arsenal game most time brings joy to my face. And what a game to wrap up the FA matches. Arsenal absolutely dismantled Wigan Athletic with a commanding 4-0 victory. The most important detail is this: the game was finished inside 27 minutes. This wasn't a slow grind. This was early dominance, early precision, and early knockout execution. Let's break it down properly. Arsenal opened the scoring in the 11th minute through Madueke. The pattern was clear from the start: high tempo, wide positioning, and quick combinations around the box. Wigan were pinned back immediately. 7 minutes later, Martinelli made it 2-0. At that point, you could already see Wigan's defensive line retreating deeper and deeper. Arsenal's wide play was stretching the back four, and the gaps were opening. That's where Arsenal thrive, in those half spaces where quick one-touch combinations become deadly. The third goal came in the 23rd minute as a Wigan defender turned the ball into his own net under pressure. That wasn't bad luck. That was sustained attacking pressure forcing rushed decisions. When you are constantly defending crosses and cutbacks, one mistake becomes inevitable. Then in the 27th minute, Gabriel Jesus added the fourth. Calm finish, intelligent movement, and clinical execution. By that moment, the tie was over. Arsenal had scored 4 times in less than half an hour. Now tactically, this performance tells us a lot. First, Arsenal's width was decisive. Their wingers stayed wide early, dragging Wigan's defensive shape apart and creating isolation opportunities and passing lanes inside. Second, midfield control was total. Arsenal didn't just have possession, they controlled territory. Every loose ball seemed to fall to them. Their press cut off first passing options, forcing Wigan into long balls. Third, squad depth was evident. Arsenal rotated several players, yet the attacking structure looked sharp. This tells you it's a squad with interchangeable parts who understand the system perfectly. After going 4-0 up, Arsenal managed the second half professionally. The intensity dropped slightly, tempo was controlled, and key players were preserved. That's intelligent tournament football. No need to risk injuries. In cup competitions, the biggest danger for top clubs is complacency. Arsenal avoided that completely. They didn't flirt with an upset. They imposed themselves early and removed any possibility of drama. It also builds confidence. Winning comfortably creates belief and keeps fringe players sharp. Most importantly, it preserves momentum heading into league fixtures. Arsenal now move into the FA Cup 5th round. If they maintain this level of intensity in early phases, they become very difficult to eliminate. Fast starts win knockout ties, and Arsenal showed they have that weapon in their arsenal. The real takeaway here is ruthlessness. Good teams win. Very good teams finish games quickly. Arsenal did exactly that, proving they are ready for the business end of this competition. So my lovely people, what do you think? Can Arsenal go all the way in the FA Cup this season? And who impressed you most in that first half blitz? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in with Smart Sports Studio, where we don't just report the scoreline, we explain what it means. We break them down properly. I'm Smart. See you in the next update. Peace and love for the game. I'll see you in the next one. Smart football for the football family. Checking out.